And from the national headquarters of RT America in our nation's capital, hello again, everybody. I'm Rick Sanchez. Tonight, for the very first time, the president of Russia is reacting in a public forum to the Mueller report. And we're going to have a deep dive into what Mr. Putin said with reaction as well as analysis. But we're going to begin this newscast tonight with the voting in Israel, which is surprisingly going down to the wire. This is really a bit of a shocker, and I think I'm being told now that we've got some video coming in as we speak. This is the latest video coming in of Benjamin Netanyahu in the center of your screen there. In fact, these are live pictures coming to us now from Israel. Here's what's really interesting about this. Netanyahu is neck and neck, if not down a few points right now, to Benny Gantz, of what is essentially a coalition party that came together to somehow try and defeat Netanyahu in Israel. But apparently, Netanyahu seemed to know that there was reason to worry even in the last couple of nights. In fact, late last night, on the eve of what may be a panicky move, my word, he produced a video meant to apparently just scare the hell out of Israelis by telling them if they didn't vote for him, there will be a lefty takeover that would be soft on Israel's enemies. Sound familiar? Did he overreach with that kind of scare tactic? And is that possibly why he's getting this reaction today in the polls? Who knows, right? Well, Haaretz is writing today in the paper, in so far one of its most viewed editorials, that, quote, Netanyahu's only ideology is staying in power. So, that's the way Haaretz is reacting to the move by Netanyahu late yesterday. There we see more pictures now. There's really a lot going on right now. Both sides are basically declaring victory, but it's really kind of neck and neck. By the way, Netanyahu's campaign is reportedly being led by the guy who President Trump is using for his 2020 election. This fellow's name, John McLaughlin. Remember the name, John McLaughlin. He's apparently also handled the campaigns of Arnold Schwarzenegger. He handled the campaigns of Jeb Bush. Now, of course, despite the bad head-to-head numbers, and I'm going to take you, we have all the numbers. I'm going to take you all through this, okay? I know it's very difficult sometimes to understand. In the United States, we don't have a parliamentary system, so it's not about forming a government. In the United States, if you have more votes than your opponent, you win. Not like that there. So the real question here, and we're going to be able to drill down on this for you, is can Netanyahu muster enough votes from other parties to somehow put together a government, right? And again, I'm going to show you the exit numbers that are coming in from Channel 12 that everybody's talking about right now. This is the sensation right now in Israel. We have reaction from both sides, of course, of the Israeli divide here on another edition of the News with Rick Sanchez, where, as you know, we say it every night, we really believe it's time to do news again. All right, here we go. These are the questions that we think you'll be asking tomorrow. President Putin, he lashes out at the Mueller report. What is his end game? What's his end game? Will Bibi Netanyahu get enough votes to be able to form a majority to lead? And is there finally a way to farm seafood that isn't dangerous, not to mention poisonous? All right, let's begin in Israel once again. And in fact, if we've got some of those live pictures, let's put them back up. Let's see what's actually going on right now. It's turning into a real scare for that man you see right there, along with his wife. This is Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. He needs at least 60 votes to get a majority in the 120-seat Knesset so he can lead and form a government. But he may end up short, or at the very least having to negotiate away part of his power to get that majority. All right, let me bring in Miko Peled. He is an Israeli human rights activist who wrote the book about essentially who he is. It's called The General's Son. Miko is a frequent critic, by the way, of the Israeli policy. Also joining us is John Jordan, geopolitical expert who is also an expert on Israeli-U.S. relationship. John, let me begin with you. no matter what happens, even if he is able to form a government, which I think it's looking like he's going to be able to, even if you go by Channel 12's numbers, is this still a loss in some measure for Bibi Netanyahu?
No. Basically, no Israeli prime minister since the founding of Israel has ever had an absolute majority. So there's always been a coalition or power sharing in the 120-member Knesset. In this case, even if the Likud comes up short, the question is, where do the rest of the votes lie to the right of Netanyahu and to the left in terms of party representation?
But,
now, to have representation...
Hold on. Before you go there, I can do this. We can do this together rather than just words. Let me put the numbers up. Put the full screen up. Put the full screen up. That's up. All right, here's where we are right now. We've got the Likud, and Miko, please feel free to jump in here anytime you want. We're all trying to get through this as the numbers come in. We've got the Likud with 33, Blue and White with 37. Again, these are Channel 12's numbers. We've got Labor with 6, Union of right-wing parties with 5, Meretz with 5. I mean, you see the numbers right there. And if you add them up, right, let's take Likud, for example. If you give Bibi's 33, by the way, and this is important to say, before we add up all the numbers and form a new government in Israel, and I know, John, you're saying it's not significant. Miko, I'd like to get your opinion on this. We're looking at the Blue and White with 37. We're looking at the Likud with 33. The Blue and White represents, Gantz. The Likud represents Bibi Netanyahu. If this were not a parliamentary system, Bibi lost.
Yes and no. Number one, he's been there before when the numbers were so close, and he still was the guy to put together a coalition and become prime minister. So it's not the first time. And number two, the numbers are always very, very close. In other words, 33, 35, 37, and he's gained 3 seats, because in the last Knesset he had 30. This time he's got 33.
Good point.
So number one, he's ahead from last time.
Let me just stop you for a minute and throw in something.
And he's a better horse trader.
He's a better horse trader?
He's the better horse trader than anyone, which is why he gets to be prime minister every time.
Why does that not surprise me?
Even when he loses.
Well, here's the point that I want to make, that I, as an American, I think it's significant. It seems to me that no prime minister in the history of Israel has gotten so much from an American president.
No, absolutely not. You're absolutely right. This prime minister has done more for Israel than any other prime minister. He's got better relationship.
You mean this president?
This prime minister from this president.
Right.
In other words, the Israeli prime minister got more for Israel from the United States than anyone has ever could even imagined. The recognition of Jerusalem, the recognition of the Golan Heights is a lead up to the recognition of Israeli sovereignty over the West Bank, if anybody has any doubt about that.
So short of being his campaign manager, Donald Trump has everything he possibly could.
He's a donor. He's not a campaign manager. He's a donor. The Golan Heights was a campaign contribution, a political campaign contribution to Bibi Netanyahu, without any doubt, as was the Jerusalem Declaration.
So, John, that's the reason when you say no, I have to counter you on that and say, who in the world has ever had so much given to them, and yet they're still, even if he wins, that's why I'm saying, man, don't you think he should have done better with everything that Donald Trump has literally put on his plate? Oh, hold on. John, hold on. John, hold on. We lost you. Let's see if we can fix that real quick. John, give me a 10 count real quick. Go.
1, 2, 3, 4,
You're
5,
good.
6,
All right,
7,
go
8,
ahead. Start over.
If you look to the right of Netanyahu, there's going to be more room for him to maneuver and more parties, natural allies, with whom he can negotiate to form a coalition than will be on the left. Now, one of the real stories to look for here is Arab turnout and Arab representation in the Knesset. It's possible that the boycott that's been led in Arab-Israeli politics may result in no Arab representation in the Knesset, which would probably be a death blow to Benny Gantz. Now, the thing is,
but he's not accepting. But he's not. But hold on. Benny Gantz has already said, "I'm not taking any Arabs into my government," which, by the way, smacks of something that we in this country would call discriminatory. But either way, if he's not, there's 6. Here, let me help you, John. Let's put those numbers up for you.
He said that before the.
But there they are. I'm not sure if you include. Let's do these numbers, guys. Ready? Likud 30. Let's do Likud's 33. Let's add the 5 from the Union of Right Wing. That gets them to what? 38. Let's add this.
You have to add Shas. You have to have all the religious. United Torah
by
and
my
Shas.
count, he's at 59, almost 60 already.
He's going to be able to put together a coalition much better than Benny Gantz.
Benny Gantz is somewhere around 40
and
something.
And there is no Israeli leader who will ever rely on the Palestinian members of Knesset to put together a coalition.
Well, by the way,
ever.
I know John just said that too, and I'm glad both of you guys
will never do it.
Why?
Because they're racist. Because it's an inherently racist system. Let's remember that today was election day, was the commemoration of one of the worst massacres Israel committed in 1948, the massacre of the village of Deir Yassin. This is the day they chose to have their elections, and when you look at the heads of all the political parties, they would have done the same thing had they been there today, and they've been supporting the same kind of policies of massacring and killing Palestinians. So they will never get support.
Let me get John's reaction. John, if what he's saying is true, if what we're all saying is true, that this is the policy in Israel, wouldn't that be like Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump saying, I will win the election, but I want to make sure that I have no blacks or no Hispanics or no, I don't know, Irish people in my government? Because if that's the case, I'd prefer to not even be president.
Not just in the government.
Absolutely, but this is Israeli politics. The Israeli political environment is completely different. Now, I would submit that when Benny Gantz said that he would not accept Arab members of the Knesset as part of the necessary form of government, he may have been saying that. He said that before the campaign was run. I would submit if he was within a seat or two, and if in fact a member of the Knesset was the margin for victory in terms of achieving a 61-vote majority, he might change his tune. But he had to say that, and he said that during the campaign only.
What does it say that he has to say that, though?
It says that
Sorry, I'm stuck on this point.
You are not stuck on this point. This is the point to be stuck on, particularly today on the commemoration of the Deir Yassin massacre. This is the point. It is a racist system. This is why more than 50% of the Palestinian citizens of Israel are boycotting the elections, because they know they won't matter. Last time they had the third largest bloc in the Knesset, and they were shut out of every important decision.
Back to the politics. John, is it... does it left to be? Is it? Do you think at this point it's guaranteed that somehow Netanyahu will form this government and will be the prime minister of Israel? Even as the numbers look bad for him, they still look good for him forming a government. Correct?
Correct. The way this will work is President Rivlin will ask the leader of the party that he thinks most likely able to form a government to do so. And that person will have 42 days under Israeli law to do that. And if they can't, then the president would ask the next person. But in those 42 days, if in fact he asked Benjamin Netanyahu to form the government, it's likely he would, because he has more natural allies in terms of political outlook that won votes in the Knesset, even if they're not members of the Likud, than is the case for Benny Gantz.
Mika, final word.
It's much more likely that Benny Gantz is going to be a member of Netanyahu's government, probably defense minister or something like that, than the other way around, than Benny Gantz forming a government. It's very unlikely that Netanyahu will not be the next prime minister, and I'd be very surprised if Benny Gantz doesn't sit in his government as defense minister.
He is really not liberal. He's more of a moderate, correct? Gantz.
Well, it all depends where you start counting. To me, they're all very, very right-wing and racist, so I don't know how you...
Mika, thank you so much for being here. That's
Pleasure,
fantastic.
sure.
Great, passionate discussion.
Thank you.
I think we all learn a lot when we have gentlemen like you here. And John Jordan, as usual, thank you, my friend, for being a part of the panel, okay? I'm Rick Sanchez. You found us on YouTube, and that's awesome. But you know what? I'm also live every night at 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern on DirecTV and Dish and cable and satellite, the RT app, and Pluto TV. I'll see you there.